All right. Let's do it. Let's do it. So, my name is Roman. I'm the Amazon seller, and we created the platform for Amazon sellers. It's called Propamp.ai. Propamp.ai. Tonight, I would like to show how we actually use it internally with our team. And without further ado, let's dive into it. So basically, when we place the order with our suppliers, we create a purchase order for decent amount of quantity just to save on the purchase price. However, because we sell on Amazon, Amazon is dividing these purchase orders into different shipments, different amount of shipments. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 5, and we as sellers don't have any possibility to choose where we are going to ship the products. It's just Amazon, through its knowledge, AI, and experience, telling us where we need to ship our product. Because of that, we created the system in which we account the expenses in 2 parts. First part, all of the expenses that are attributed to the purchase order itself, whether it's going to be labeling, boxes, domestic deliveries, maybe some kind of a packaging or whatever. So basically, we account all of the costs that we incur before the actual shipments. And then we attribute other costs directly tied to the shipments. Why? Because, again, sometimes we can place a bigger order that can be distributed to different countries or different, let's say, sides of the countries. If we're talking about United States, it could be like West Coast or East Coast, and the freight or deliveries might be significantly different. So that's why we dismantle the costs that we incur on the purchase orders into 2 parts. Again, on the purchase order parts and the shipment costs part. But I will show you. So this is our internal Excel file that we have. This is the purchase order for like 1,500 units almost. Nothing too fancy, nothing too special. But after that, when we create the shipments, Amazon has us like 3 shipments for this order: 1, 2, and 3. And this spreadsheet, this like Google spreadsheet or Excel spreadsheets, is helping us to dismantle the cost per piece for all of the shipments. That's why we're using it. It's pretty straightforward. This is the unit price that we incur with the supplier. Add some costs for like boxes or domestic delivery, and it's end up being one huge cost. But after that, when we make a shipment to Amazon, we incur freight costs, pickup costs, sometimes there are detentions costs, warehousing costs, so you name it. Every seller has its own shipment costs, so that's why we attribute those expenses directly to the unit that have been into the shipments. And only after this shipment is received in Amazon Seller Central, and only after that moment, we can adjust our cost of goods in order to do the proper accounting. How did we do it on Propamp.ai? Let's dive into it. So again, Propamp.ai shows you like lots of Amazon analytics, but let me dive into the purchase orders. So this is our account. We already have a bunch of orders implemented into this, but let's see our example. An order 166. So this is the order that we placed. The purchase order page is divided into sections. The left section, let me close this. The left section is just the overall statistics and data. and the right section is more of like payments and trends, and I'll get into details later. So when we place the order, we assign the name of the order. Let me make it bigger. Yeah, we assign the name of the order, which marketplace this order is going, the production date that supplier told us, the estimate pickup date when we can pick up, the supplier name, and Incoterms. Again, Incoterms might affect the price at which the supplier is selling you those goods. Some suppliers don't know that, so beware. Whether like FOB or X works, you can negotiate a better price for you. So overall, we set the price with the supplier here, and when you create the shipments within the Seller Central, you already pre-populate some data. We're gonna have a pickup, and Amazon is telling you where you have to deliver the goods. So the system is pretty straightforward. You just click the add shipments, look for your shipment that you want to add. I already added everything, but yeah, this is the shipment plan, and this is different shipments, but I already chose them. This little shipments, that's the shipments that are attributed to this particular purchase order. And down below we have a statistics. Again, this is the active order that's already on sale, that's why it's fully received. But when you like planning the next purchase order and next shipments, those bars will not be filled fully. So the system will show you how much of an inventory you already received within a purchase order. I will go deeper into the shipment details later. Let me just go and show you the right side. So the right side is basically for the supply chain management and the accounting manager. Since we are Amazon sellers, we are like multitasking, right? We are accounting, marketing, and supply chain management all in one. So that's why we created some like notes tab here that we can share some knowledge with the team or some insights with the team. And this inventory trends is actually showing you when will be the appropriate date to deliver your goods according to your inventory. So this like pale blue graph is showing your current inventory, and here you can input the data of when you're expecting this purchase order to be at the fulfillment center. Let's try it. Tonight is like 7th of July, but let's assume, again, this is the old order, but let's assume it will come in like August. We click like August, and it shows you like when this particular quantity will be at the fulfillment center and how much of inventory you're gonna have according to the velocity of sales that you're currently having. So this yellow dot line shows you the depletion of the inventory that you have, and according to its pace it will show you over how much inventory you're gonna have. It's really helpful for the sake of procurement, because Amazon is happy when you have inventory. However, it is have a capacity limit for each sellers, depending on the type of the product you're selling. So this kind of inventory trend is helping you to be in line with the capacity limit, because if you have more, Amazon will punish you and charge you extra fees. Back to the costs. Here's the additional cost that we incur on the purchase order. So on top of this expense on the left side that we incur some expenses right at the factory, right before the goods left the factory. Why? Because we want to have control over the costs of the product, because The answer is simple, because the margin is shrinking. Margin is shrinking. Margin is low. For those who don't know, Amazon sellers are not having a huge margin at all. If you have a 2-digit margin with your product, you're a good seller, or you have like a huge amount of traffic. Maybe you're a celebrity or blogger or whatever. Most of the sellers are sitting like at a 1-digit margin, and it's important. It's important to have a control for the costs yet you're selling, because I'll show you a little graph here that we have. Yes. So when you input the additional costs, you will see that how much those additional costs out of the total cost that you have. Let's say your whole procurement is $25, but you already paid $2.50 for the boxes, labeling, and domestic delivery. It's 10%. That is 10%. That is huge. And this 10% will inevitably affect the profit margin after the sale. But we'll go back to that later. So when the additional cost is done, there's a nice tool with the payments here. When you have the schedule with your supplier and with your box providers or provider or domestic delivery companies who are shipping your goods from the factory to the port, or whatever might cost you. It's pretty straightforward. Again, it is just based on the Excel, where I collect all of the data and have my payment calendar linked to those data and to the amounts and to the counterparties, which is ported on the web page. Again, I'm a former accountant. I'm very picky with all of the costs, because that's why we created those systems, deliberately showing all of the expenses, because again, it's crucially important. However, interesting part is that this payment tab is linked to the order itself, meaning that all of the costs that you're going to incur within shipments are also showing in this tab. And again, pretty straightforward. You just set up the date, you set up the status, you set up the amount, and the system will show you how much is overdue, how much you overpaid, or how much you're still scheduled to pay. And the last section is summary, but I'll go to the summary after the shipments. So let me show you shipment. So when we click the shipment, it goes to, let me make it dark, right? When we go to the shipments, again, this is the data from Amazon. You can click on, oh yeah, it's asking me to log in. I'm not going to right now. So this data is taken from the Amazon Seller Central through the API. Nothing is created. It's just the systems. It's the data that are already in the system. All you have to do here is just add your costs that you incurred on the shipment, because Amazon doesn't care about your costs. It just tells you when and how much you need to deliver, and this is your job to do it as effectively as possible, or not, and be run out of business. But I advise you to make it like as effective as possible. Again, you can incur any cost that you had. You can input any cost that you have, that you had on this shipment. However, the one thing to mention is that you either apply the costs to the particular SKU, and you can choose the distribution method that you want to choose for this cost. Let me explain this a little bit further. For example, when you have the custom clearing costs, they are based on the price mostly. So you declare the price of the goods regardless of the size, regardless of the shape or amount, or like how many units you have in the package. It's just based on the price. However, when you have the ground delivery, let's say, They might charge you by the volume, they might charge you by the pallet, they might charge you by the weight or by the count. So it's a little bit picky. It's just mathematical shenanigans that you have to be aware of, and that's why we implemented this. So for this particular shipment, we had custom declaration costs here, freight is there, and cross-dock and ground services for that amount. And what happens after this, let me do it like this, and this, yes. So, yes, like this. So again, on the right side I have the whole order, and on the left side I have the whole order, and on the right side I have the details of the shipment. So previously I showed you a little table that shows the costs per unit, over additional costs per unit. So here on the shipment side, it basically the same logic. However, let me pin here. So we pin the ASINs, and we can scroll it. The logic almost the same. The shipment takes the costs that you have on the purchase order side and add your additional costs that you incur. Again, why is this happening? Because purchase orders might have like 5 different shipments to different countries, and let's say you had an X-ray or detention or whatever, and it's not quite fair to attribute that cost to the whole purchase orders, because it was just this one particular shipment. When you're going to deliver this particular shipment is a different kind of story, but you have this cost, so you need to apply those costs to this particular shipment. And this tab here shows you the disassembled full costs of the production, so you can eventually have the precise landed cost per unit. I hope it's clear. Again, once you're done with the additional costs per purchase order, you go and fill up the shipment costs within every shipment that you have. It's not a big deal, even if it sounds like crazy difficult and troublesome and time consuming. No, it's not. You just input your data and attribute to this and set the distribution, and the system will calculate over how much costs you incurred to give you the final landed costs. And here in the summary you'll be able to see like kind of a check of how much was a production cost, how much was the shipping cost, and the total cost of this particular shipment. We know that some freight forwarders might charge you according to the weight, according to the volume. So again, we have a weight, a volume, and metric and imperial systems for the convenience. Once all done, once you set up this shipment, the costs of the shipment, they automatically attached to the shipment payments in the payment section of the order. Again, once you're done with the shipment costs that you incur on the shipments, they automatically appear here on the purchased order costs for the convenience, and you can like assign it whether it's like scheduled or whether it's paid, just to give you like a proper payment calendar. Because if you operate like one purchase order per quarter, is not a big deal, right? But if you operate like several purchase orders to several countries and you are negotiating with different freight forwarders, it's going to be a nightmare to allocate this payment calendar. Again, this is all based on the spreadsheet, this kind of a spreadsheet, and I have all of the data. I have the payment calendar and I have my own system. We just ported it online and the whole team is using it and it's working. And once all done, once you set up the cost for all of those shipments, because again, the purchase order might have several shipments. Once all done, the summary down below will show you all of the costs that you have, all of the costs per unit, and it will show you like how much the landed cost would be for that one particular SKU that you have. Again, why is it important? Because margin is low. It's better to have a control over your costs, regardless how big of a margin you have. It's always good to have control over the costs that you have. And once all done, you just you can go to the dashboard, you can go to the particular SKU that you're having, and you can see how your cost of goods sold is changing. Where is like you had a bad delivery or good delivery, or if you want to see like on the timeline of how much your cost is dropping or increasing. So basically, within this year, our cost of production was slowly increasing. It's only in May, when the freight costs dropped, we saved all of the increase. We saved some money basically, just because we set up a good price for the delivery. It sounds trivial, it seems like easy peasy. However, again, when you operate across different marketplaces, it's crazy hard to get track of it, especially when you have a team and you need to take care of everything. Again, if you ship to different countries, you might experience different custom declaration costs and all of that. And our system is helping to keep track on that. I guess that's it. I don't know how much time did it? Yeah, I guess that's it. My name is Roman. Again, I'm the creator and the owner of Propamp.ai, the SaaS platform for Amazon sellers. We recently launched. If you're interested, hit the button and sign up. We have 2 weeks trial, no credit card, no nothing. Just go and try, give me some feedback. Again, we're dog feeding this platform with our own company. We're selling on Amazon for 8 years. That's why we built this, because we know stuff. For any question, feel free to ask or reach me by any means. All right. Thank you. Have a good day.